I don't even know if I mentioned this in the start of the video, in the intro, that the purpose of the video is to show that even though you're injured, you can still go ahead and train. It is just finding movements and finding ways how to prevent the injury getting worse and to also give you enough rest time for you to actually recover from that injury. So what is good, guys? I'm here at the Grow Room today. Going to do a back and calf workout for you, and it's going to be in a similar style that I've done before, where I'm just going to do my intro here and then I'm going to actually break down my movements and talk about it more in detail in the studio while I just film me doing it, because I find it very difficult to film and work out at the same time. So I'll do my introduction, probably do an outro as well here at the gym, but that's pretty much it. Then, you know, the headphones will probably go on, get some music in, I can actually work out properly and not have to think about the camera, the angles, what to say, you know, in between sets and everything. I prefer to just film it, talk about it later, and just be in the zone at all times. So that's the way we're going to go forward with these workout videos. Now, we're going to train calves first, and that's just because if you train them last, the likelihood is you're probably not going to train them. And it's definitely not because I'm wearing shorts today on a filming day. It's definitely not for that reason. Yes, we're going to do calves first, and it's pretty high volume. So everything I'm doing now is very high volume. And the reason I haven't been posting much lately is because I have a small injury. I have tennis elbow, actually, and it is because I've been really smashing my back workouts, because that's my biggest weakness at the moment. It was judges' feedback from my shows. My back thickness is my weak point, and I really need to bring that up if I want to have a chance at getting that top 3 placings in the pro shows, of course. So I'm actually doing back thickness workouts twice a week, and just the sheer amount of rows that I was doing, because it's also high volume now, it just triggered some good old tendonitis and tennis elbow, so I've had to get that sorted. My PEDs are non-existent at the moment, so I did go off and then back to TRT, got some tests done. Tests came back pretty much on the borderline of within range, and you don't really want to start a big blast when you're already on the borderline, because you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to go straight into the red zone, and this is going to be my last real big push this year, I think, and see where I can get it. So I want to make sure that I am healthy, because like I say, it's going to be a big push this year. So got to make sure I'm healthy first, and then we will start the off season officially. So this is more like a health phase, I guess. So it's actually not a bad time to take some downtime, because all I'm trying to do now is maintain all of my muscle while my health recovers, and then from there I say recovers, it's not like it's bad, but I just need my health to improve more than what it is now. So once it's back to a pretty solid baseline, then we can actually start pushing in again. So I've taken the weight down a little bit. I used to be 230 at the end of my rebound phase. I'm now just 226 this morning. So weight's down a little bit, which is fine. I think all of the inflammation I'm trying to take back a little bit with, again, the water weight is going to come down a touch with being fully natty at the moment. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Let's get stuck into some calves and then a big back thickness session. Okay, so we're kicking off with standing calf raises. This is, like I said, high volume stuff. So we're actually going to be doing 20 to 30 reps for 5 sets. It is absolutely debilitating when you finish this one. Just the pump is absolutely outrageous. Guys, if you're struggling to grow your calves, it's probably because you're not training them enough or training them with high enough volume. Your calves are used to really high volume work anyway, because of just walking in general. You know, if you're doing 10,000, 20,000 steps a day, that's a lot of calf repetitions, and you know, that's kind of the standard. You need to go beyond that to actually get them, to provide them with enough stimulus to grow. So high volume calf training is the one for me. It's the only thing that's worked for me, really cranking in the sets. So I only filmed the first and last set because, let's face it, calf workout isn't exactly good content. So I couldn't even do the stack on my last set. I had to just go body weight. So I chose to do a donkey calf raise because you get a much better stretch, and the better the stretch, the better the stimulus you provide to the muscle. So this really does hit your calves really well. And I think I only just made 20 anyway on this as well. The gym was a little bit busier than I anticipated, so hopefully the movements and everything in the background isn't too off-putting, but of course I can't be that guy who waits around and makes a perfect background to get perfect content. No, it's just, people are very generous in my gym, and they're very kind, so they do let me film and they don't mind them being in the background, which is quite a rarity these days. So that's pretty much finishing off the calf raises. If I remember correctly, I actually almost stacked it coming off this. Just the balance is just absolutely gone. Oh, that was pretty underwhelming. It was much scarier in my head. Now, this is the reason why I'm going to need a camera person, because this is a pretty bad angle. And all I can do is set up the tripods. It looks okay. I do my set and then I look at it after and I was like, okay, maybe not. But anyway, don't tell me men's physique, guys. Don't train legs, because them hamstrings be popping. This is the first back movement of the day. It is a seal dumbbell row, and I hated this movement, but it's pretty good. Like, I can't deny that it is actually quite effective for getting your back thickness up. I don't like the movement, one, because look how awkward it is to get into position. I have to get one dumbbell on the seal bench itself. The seal row bench? Seal bench. We'll find that one out. So I have to get one dumbbell up, strap in, and I actually use another bench to prop the other dumbbell up, as you can just see down in that bottom right corner there. And you go to grab it, you got to strap in, because I'm having, like I said, pretty bad tennis elbow at the moment, so I'm trying to take my grip and biceps out as much as possible, so using straps for absolutely everything. And then we get into position. So what I'm trying to do with this set now is I'm going to try to really pause on the most contracted point. So when the muscle is fully contracted, I am trying to do a little pause, and there we go. So I actually didn't really do too well in the first couple. I think I was just getting my movement pattern correct, and then we're just gonna just squeeze those shoulder blades together right at the top there, and it just really intensifies the whole exercise. And that's where I'm at my weakest as well. As you can see, my ROM is actually not perfect on this. I didn't really realize until I'm watching this now, but I probably should have got an extra inch here, just to really get that contraction going. And I think I actually did drop the weight going into my third set. So the sets and reps for this one is just a 3 sets of 10. It used to be 6 sets of 10, and as I said before, I have to now chill a little bit and drop the volume to let my tendonitis recover. And I'm still able to do the exercises. I just have to drop the volume to the point where, if it's starting to burn, if the tendonitis is really kicking in, I have to stop. So I'm really listening to my body at the moment and just going with it. So 3 sets of 10. And the weight has been reduced a little bit, which is why I'm holding this extra contraction to intensify the exercise. Because if I go heavier, and when I go heavier, I'm inclined to use more bicep, if that makes sense. Just for the stabilization, just to pull it, just to row the damn thing up. So if I'm going lighter, I can actually focus a lot more into my back and keep it isolated and not use my bicep as much, but I can also really hold that pause. Now, another terrible camera angle is I completely cut my head off, but we are moving on to some seated low rows. I'm using a underhand grip for this just because the whole reason why my tendonitis was triggering is from doing barbell work. So holding and forcing my arms into this position when I'm at peak contraction was just really, really upsetting my forearm and bicep. So an underhand movement like this actually is fine. A lot of people would think this is going to stimulate more bicep contraction, but it's just a matter of mind muscle connection. So yes, it has a lot of potential to stimulate your biceps here, but the fact it's not burning, it's not triggering my tendonitis does show that I'm using minimal bicep to complete the movement. So this is another 3 sets of 10 to 12, and again, this was supposed to be 6 sets. I've now halved that to 3, and I am just trying to really squeeze that peak contraction there at the back and use a slightly lighter weight. And that's going to be pretty much I'm doing that with most exercises you'll see today, because that is my workaround having the tendonitis, and it does stop it activating. It is a little bit boring, I'm not gonna lie, because you do really want to just pick up some weight and move some heavy weight, but this is what's gonna actually make me grow, I found. So now I've got to, put my ego down a little bit, not do something crazy heavy, and we just gotta do the movement patterns that are gonna work well for me and not make my injury even worse. So I'm trying to do multiple angles, as you can see, just so you really get a good idea on the kind of form that I'm using. And you can see that I'm really trying to squeeze my shoulder blades back here, and you get a really solid stretch. So you want to really separate your shoulder blades, roll your shoulder forwards, and then pull it all the way back while keeping that bar nice and low. Pretty much doesn't go anywhere above my belly button. I'll try and drive it as low as possible, but as the fatigue sets in, it does want to creep up. So just really make sure that you're keeping that below your belly button, and really pull in that contraction, that peak contraction at the end there, and just pause for a split second. It actually is much shorter than you realize. Like in my head, I'm thinking I'm counting to 3, but it is not 3 seconds in reality. Okay, so now we are moving on to our first heavier movement, which is a single arm row. I was supposed to do this with the dumbbells, but the dumbbells were just too aggravating going heavy. I think, again, just because you have to use so much grip. Even with the straps, you still have to use a lot of grip for stabilization. So I'm just doing a 5x5 here. It's not true failure, but I'm also doing shorter rests to build up that fatigue and just get a pretty nasty pump with it as well. So another compromising angle, but it gives you a good idea on the elbow drive. So I am using minimal bicep on this, and I'm just really picturing my elbows moving only. Picture a piece of string on the back of your elbows being pulled, and that's sort of what you want to sort of connect with your mind-muscle connection, and just really shuts that bicep off. So elbow drive up to the waist and down again. Like I said, this is my 5x5. I think I only recorded two sets, but it's for each arm. So it looks like 4 sets, but it's only 2 sets for each arm. My brain did not engage on that one. So yeah, like I say, I do normally like having this as a dumbbell movement, but it just wasn't happening for me today. And like I said, I have to really listen to my body to make sure that that tendonitis doesn't get any worse. Okay, so that's pretty much everything for the back thickness. Now I'm going into some lat isolated movements, and we have a D-handel, a single arm D-handel pull down at our gym in the grow room. So that is what I'm choosing for my lat movement for today. As you can see, actually behind me, where the gentleman in the white t-shirt is sitting on, that's the high row. That's something I can't do because that will really trigger my tendonitis, forcing it into that position and tucking my elbow in. That's where my biceps really do trigger, having that underhand grip. But using a D-handle and having control of where my wrist is moving, I can actually turn off my bicep and grip quite well, my bicep and forearm, and keep everything in that lat. So again, this is going to be 3 sets of 10 reps, which was also reduced from a 6 sets of 10 reps until I recover. And I like to really lean forward into this. So a lot of people will try to lean back, but I find if I'm leaning back, when I come to do my stretch, my arm kind of only comes up to here. I want my arm to actually stretch my lat out. So I lean slightly forward into it. And because of the way this machine is, you're sat quite far away from it anyway. So I don't think you need to lean back on this the way you would do, for example, with if you're using the lat pull down with the D-handle single arm, that's when you probably do need to lean back because it's directly above you. Whereas this machine's, the grip is in front of you, so you can actually drive it backwards quite nicely. And the stretch is a very important part of the movement. So that's why I do try to prioritize that stretch, as you can see there, and really do drive that elbow down into my waist. I'm not coming around and down. I'm trying to drive it straight through and down into my hip. And as you can see, I'm really trying to focus on getting that full stretch at the top there as well. Now, this movement did actually upset my ligament a little bit, or my tendon, I should say, for my tennis elbow a little bit. So I ended up only doing 2 sets of this, and I was pretty taxed. I mean, you can see it in my face that I was working pretty damn hard. So I did think, for the time being, as we are nursing an injury, 2 sets is actually going to be plenty. After a lot of rowing, I think that's all I can ask for. And that was my back and calf workout for my Friday workout. So I don't even know if I mentioned this in the start of the video, in the intro, that the purpose of the video is to show that even though you're injured, you can still go ahead and train. It is just finding movements and finding ways how to prevent the injury getting worse, and to also give you enough rest time for you to actually recover from that injury. So I'm still able to train even with tennis elbow. It does suck if it flares up. So I had it really bad last week. I was even struggling to just cut my damn steak. Yeah, and I was in a really bad place because I thought, you know, that's that. How on earth am I going to train? But there's still ways to train. It's a blessing in disguise, as I actually found how to isolate my back a little bit better and take my biceps out of it, just because every time I try to flex that bicep, it would just piss my elbow off so much. Because my back is quite wide, I don't need to focus on, you know, getting it even wider. That's one of my strengths. So my weak points is the back thickness, which is why you saw me do 3 exercises of rows to trigger the back thickness growth, and only 1 exercise which was back width. So that's how you should tailor your back workouts as well. Try to figure out which one is your weak point and your strong point, and just tailor it towards improving your weaker points.